Hi team, it's Gina Brooks, and today we are going to talk about performance. But typically I would talk about performance in terms of how supervisors can help employees improve their performance. But I thought I would do something a little different, and I've been trying to do videos that would apply for all staff, not just supervisors, but employees. So I want to talk about what you, an employee, can do to improve your performance. Usually performance will come up day one when you get hired. Immediately once you're hired, you should have been explained expectations for your job. Day one, you're being assessed, right? Your performance is being evaluated from the moment you walk in the door. And I've worked with a lot of supervisors and I've worked with a lot of employees on different issues having to do with performance. And unfortunately, sometimes poor performance does lead to termination, which is not what an employer or supervisor ever wants to happen. So I know a lot of employees think, oh, a supervisor's out to get me. I can tell you that a supervisor is not out to get you, because it does not benefit the employer or the supervisor to lose staff. In fact, it costs money to lose a staff member and having to rehire and retrain. So it's not a goal of any employer or supervisor to terminate. But when you enter into an employer-employee relationship, there are expectations, and those expectations are that you are going to perform at a satisfactory level. And when that doesn't occur, a good trainer, a good leader, a good supervisor will inform you of those areas that you need to improve on. Sometimes I see leaders only do it once a year during the employee evaluation. In fact, performance should be discussed ongoing. It could be verbal, it could be in meetings, it could be as a group, it could be as individually. Performance is always a part of our job, and it's the most important part of our job because it's what an employer determines and uses to make those final decisions in terms of our employment and whether we're going to continue in an organization. So if you're an employee and let's say you've had some performance problems and your supervisor's brought it to your attention, is that the end of the world? No. You can turn it around at that moment. That moment your supervisor tells you that they're having an issue with your performance, or tells you, I need you here on time, this is becoming a problem. You need to take those warnings seriously. At that moment that they're giving you that verbal warning, they're telling you, they're giving you that opportunity to turn things around. They are wanting you to turn things around. Now, what you do at that moment is up to you. You ultimately have control of your career, your life, your job. But the one thing I've been working with my daughter on is self-sufficiency and the importance of taking responsibility for your actions. And I think when you're young, you're not able to deal with a lot of emotions in your life, and learning the responsibility that other people rely on you to be at work is something that takes time. But employers don't have the time or money to invest in employees that are continuously having personal problems or problems, at home or coming in late. There's only so much an employer can do. So this is what you need to do. So let's say you got a bad evaluation. Let's say you even got written up or you received a verbal write-up. The one thing you want to do is take time to absorb the information. Do not become argumentative. Do not say, I did not do that, I had nothing to do with this. You have to just listen before you become defensive. Because when a supervisor is giving you tips or concerns about their performance, I can assure you they're not making that up, because as a supervisor, and I am a supervisor, the hardest thing that we have to do is give constructive feedback and or bad performance evaluations and or a write-up or termination. It is by far, even the strongest, most confident leaders, this is the most difficult thing to do. So I can tell you, if they've written you up, if they wrote a performance improvement plan, if they're going over a verbal concern with you, this is hurting them just as bad as it's hurting you. And that's kind of like a parent thing, right? Like I say that to my kids, when you discipline them, this is going to hurt me worse than it's going to hurt you. But the fact is, it does hurt a supervisor to do that because obviously they wish you the best. They want you to be as productive. It does reflect upon them as a leader if you're not performing, right? Because I guarantee you many people have probably mentioned that lack of performance to them, and instinctually, like a mama bear, supervisors of their employees want to protect them and want them to look good. So they're on your side, okay? So listen to the information that you are being given in terms of your performance and wait to make any comments until the end, okay? And even if it's hard and even if you don't agree 100%, I encourage you to welcome the constructive criticism. They are your supervisor. They ultimately, if you agree or not agree, they ultimately get to make the decisions in terms of how they do processes. Maybe they're not the process how you would do it, but it's the process that they're instructing you to do. So you need to do that. So you need to understand your role, right? And then also take some ownership. Even if it's really difficult for you to agree, find something in that information that you can say, okay, I'm going to look at this and I am going to come back and share with you my side, but also I will come back and see if I can come up with some suggestions on how I can improve so we can get on the same page, right? So as an employee, you need to be productive and persistent, and you need to be flexible. There's 100 things that you need to be, but the time that you get any type of performance evaluation or evaluation of your performance, be humbled to listen for a bit, because there's probably some truth to that, even if it's hard for you to take criticism, okay? So hold yourself accountable. You need to say, okay, I haven't been coming in on time. And honestly, for an employer's perspective, there's no excuse. And that's what I've been telling my daughter as she started a new job and, was feeling, down one day, and she wants to call in sick. I said, absolutely not. That's unacceptable. First thing is, you're a new employee. That's the last thing an employer wants to have is an employee that's barely been there a few weeks and is always wanting a day off. So you have to show your employees what it looks like and be clear for those expectations early on. But employees, please listen. Those expectations are going to determine the length of employment. So if you have a bad performance review or a write-up of some sort, I suggest you take it with a grain of salt, absorb the information, go back, read it, and come up with a corrective action plan. So let's say you have time and attendance issues. Go back and come up with a plan and just say, I intend to improve upon this immediately. This will not be an issue in the future, and I plan to do A, B, and C. Now, you saying that is great. It's wonderful. But now you have to prove it, right? So once you've been on the radar of the supervisor, and this is what I was trying to tell my daughter, is that once you are on the radar of even, calling in sick or slipping a little bit, there's a trust factor. So there's already assessment, right, and perception going on that, oh no, I'm going to have issues with this employee. It's But once you take some ownership, and like I told my daughter, she called in sick. I was very disappointed. I told her, no, that's not acceptable. You call the employer, you say you made a mistake, and ask to come back in. You really have to take ownership and responsibility of your behavior. It's important to learn that lesson early on, and I'm trying to teach my young adult that life is hard and we're going to have problems, but when someone relies on you, you need to be reliable and you need to be there. And our personal life is not a good excuse because your employer cares about the bottom line. They care about you, but to stay in business, they care about the bottom line. So take ownership, show accountability, be humbled, take criticism well, and then on the flip side, you're going to have to prove yourself, right? So how do you prove yourself after you've had some performance issues? Well, correct them, for one. You want to switch from being on the radar for the naughty list and get on the good list, right? So how can you get on the good list? You go to the supervisor and say, look, I know I've messed up. I've made a lot of mistakes recently. Maybe I've made some errors on paperwork. Maybe I've been late. I am committed to make the changes. I want to work with you on making the changes, and I want just for you to know that I'm going to be making those changes, and I hope you give me a fair shot so I can have this opportunity back, because I really feel like I made a grave error. Take ownership of that error. That'll press upon your employer greatly, okay? And then go back and what are ways you can improve your performance? If you don't know how to do something, if it's over your head, communicate that. I see this all the time with employees who have issues or having problems, but they won't ask for help. They're too prideful. They're afraid their employer is going to see them as not knowing what they're doing. The thing is, it's going to come out sooner or later that you don't know what you're doing. Better have it at the beginning before a really big error happens. So go ahead and ask your employer for assistance. Ask for a mentor. Ask to job shadow a seasoned employee in that position. Say, I know that I've been falling a bit behind and I would love a refresher on some of these issues because I'm dedicated to improving my performance. Show interest that you want to take the initiative to improve your performance, okay? Another thing you can do, volunteer. Volunteer for new assignments or new exciting things, right? So you want to get yourself off that list of having the performance problem that's going to follow you. Trust me, it will follow you throughout your employer, and get on that good list. And one way to do that is by volunteering for new assignments. Be that one that's showing initiative to come up with new ideas, new processes. Be the cheerleader for the corporation, okay? Look in your employee handbook and follow it. Be that cheerleader to turn that performance around. Another thing you can do is show interest in continuous learning and education. Ask your supervisor for if you can attend some training opportunities, whether it be virtual or school class. Show that you're continuously interested in learning. At any time, you can turn your performance around. I promise you that. But you will have to prove yourself, and you will have to show a lot of initiative and passion and interest in what you do. Now, let's say you don't really know how to get there. Well, ask. Look online. Look at ways that you can change the way you're prioritizing your tasks. Look at time management courses. Look at customer service classes, ways that you can improve how you communicate. These are all skills that can be learned, and you have to be interested in making those changes and learning. I have confidence in you. I know that you guys are all capable, just like my daughter. And I just told her today, I'm not always going to be here. One day you need to figure these things out so you can be self-sufficient. Someone is not going to hold your hand through life. And we have to give our employer everything we have, because at the end of the day, we have to support ourselves and our family, and that should be number one. That can be done. You can do it. I believe in you. that's it for today. I hope that you guys have a wonderful day, and until next week, toodles, bye.